topic is mere consciousness. The existence of the world is only because of our consciousness. There's no existence of object outside of our mind. We're going to talk about the 30 verses of consciousness only by Bodhisattva Vasubandhu. First, we are going to talk about the A consciousness. According to the Yogacara school of Buddhism, it says that we have the first 5 consciousness of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And the 6th consciousness are thinking mind, all the perceptions and thoughts. Then internally we have the manas, which is a consciousness that grabs onto the big storehouse, the alaya consciousness, the 8th consciousness, as its self. That's why we live this world from the point of view of the self, because we have the perception of the 8 consciousnesses. The mind consciousness is dependent on alaya. This alaya consciousness is like a repository that stores all our karmic seeds. That's how our retributions are ripened because of all our past wholesome and unwholesome karmic energies that brings us lifetimes and lifetimes of reincarnation. The first 6 consciousness, they are dependent on the alaya, like waves depend on water. Our 6 sense organs come in contact with the 6 sense objects, develop the 6 sense consciousness. The consciousness responds to the outside situation like waves. This wave is dependent on the water. How do the waves come about? The dramas of our lives, or our thoughts, or our afflictions, or our emotional ups and downs, these are like waves. The waves develop only because of the water. The water is like the repository, the big alaya consciousness, the big ocean. That's why we have waves. And the 7 consciousness always clinging onto the alaya and changes as the alaya does. So the 7 consciousness, it always grasps onto the alaya, thinking this is a permanent, real, independent self. Because the alaya, it does look very real and permanent to the eyes of the manas. It thinks that everybody have a permanent self and this is a real me. And it changes as the alaya changes. So every lifetime is the alaya consciousness that brings us into reincarnation. Lifetime after lifetimes of rebirth. Every lifetime we are different. This lifetime you are a woman. Next lifetime you might be a man. You grab onto this self, so you live a life as the identity, as how you identify yourself. So does a dog, so does an animal, so does all living beings. They all have 8 consciousnesses. Then we have the alaya. It's like torrents of water. It changes constantly. The water is constantly moving, but it's always there. You can call it our soul, but it's actually repository consciousness. It stores all our seeds. So it has 2 functions. One is storing, one is perfuming. All your thoughts perfumed into seeds. And the seeds became volitional activities. That's how we have retribution. All the people that are in your life, all the relationships, your money, your work, everything that you experience is because we have the karmic energy from our prior lifetimes. So this is why we have lifetimes of reincarnation. Every 8 consciousness have 4 divisions. First is the form division. You can say it's the 6 sense objects. Outside, we see form. But this form, they are actually not outside of our mind. All 4 divisions are made by our own mind. What you see outside is actually developed from your karmic seed. That's the object. Then we have the seeing division, which is the subject. So subject, the eye, full of the manas, is seeing the form outside. So we are always interpreting our situation based on the lenses, based on the self inside. We have three kinds of states of the form division and three modes of knowledge of the seeing division. First is the real state. Real state is the very first instinct. When you have your first five consciousness, first seeing or hearing, that first instant, even before you have any narrative in the mind, you can call it the real state. It's very, very short because the next moment, it's already the distorted state, the second state. Why? Because it's now distorted by your perception, by your sixth consciousness. You interpret that situation with discrimination, vexation, you have love and hate, good and bad, all these dualistic thinking. You no longer see the reality. So there is a gap between the reality and personal perception. We see what we see is the truth, but in fact, we never really see the real state because it's transposed by our own thinking, by our discrimination. Next, we have the imagined state. When we close our eyes, we are remembering the past, or we are creating a novel, or we are analyzing all these things without anything in front of you. You are just thinking in your own mind. We call it the imagined state. Every single moment, we are either in real state or distorted state or imagined state. What about our seeing division? I am seeing, there's the subject of the I. We're not objective, omniscient Buddha. Our seeing division is full of the self, full of dualism. When we see the real state, we are at the vertical state, which is you see the truth. So the very first instinct when you come in contact with the outside environment. For example, when you see me, before you even have any kind of discrimination, before you have any narrative in your mind, that very, very first instinct, you are having the vertical mode of knowledge, but we're usually in the inference state. We analyze and we have discrimination, we have judgment, we have opinion. We added on everything we experienced in the past. We make inference of the situation. That's pretty much when we see the imagined state in our own mind. But most likely, we are in the state of fallacy. When we infer incorrectly, we call it fallacy. For example, the seven consciousness infer that there is the laya called the self. That is totally a fallacy. There's no such thing as an I or a self. It's only the interpretation of the manas that give us attachment to the self and attachment to the phenomena. Because of these two attachments, we cannot be enlightened. A mundane always live in the seeing division and the form division. There's a group of blind people. You ask them to describe what an elephant looks like. Some touch the side of the elephant. They say, oh, elephant looks like a wall. Some touch the tusk. Oh, it's very long. Some touch the tail. Think, oh, it's very furry. So depend on where you touch. Because you're blind, you don't see the entire elephant. That's like us. We never see the real state. We only see part of it through our own imagination. So we're always transpose whatever we see. Until there's this person that has good eyes, see the entire elephant and describe it to the blind people. Then maybe they will understand what a real elephant is all about. So for all of us, our opinions and judgments is often fallacy. It's not really the truth. So we gotta be more compassionate and tolerant toward other people. Do not judge others based on what you see or what you interpret. Live this life beyond the fallacy, beyond the distorted state. If we can stay away from grabbing onto the external environment as real phenomena, don't use the two divisions. We have an internal self-witnessing division. This division actually creates the two divisions outside. You can call it the alaya consciousness before any movement. When we see, when we hear, what if we can stop talking, stop having the self-narrative, stop having the personal perception? Maybe we can live in a state at the present moment. Seeing, just seeing. Sleeping, just sleeping. Walking, just walking. Eating, just eating. Maybe we won't have all these afflictions, all these sufferings. So try to use the self-witnessing division. We call it the non-conceptual knowledge. You can live beyond the perception, beyond the consciousness. It's mere consciousness. It's only consciousness made by your perception. There's also a re-witnessing division inside. It will witness the self-witnessing division. So the self-witnessing division witnesses the seeing division, and the re-witnessing division witnesses the self-witnessing division. They are conditioned for each other's existence. So what is this re-witnessing division? You can call it the eight consciousness when it's purified. We call it the ninth consciousness when it doesn't have all these polluted karmic seeds. It's not living the life responding to the outside environment, but it has a master inside that is witnessing life as an enlightened being. We have eight consciousness. They all have the four divisions. It's just we don't know how to use the pure consciousness inside. Conscious only school of Buddhism also describe this life by using the three nature of things. One is the fully conceptualized nature, or your form division, seeing division, your first six consciousness, even the seven consciousness. That is only your own perception, your discrimination, because you have a self. That's how you see the world. If you see a husband and wife arguing, if you're friend with the husband, you hear one story. If you're friend with the wife, you hear a totally different story. Everybody think it's the other people's fault. So you say, who is right? Nobody's right. Everybody's using their selfish self. That's why with life there's so much tragedy, so much conflict, because everybody is using the fully conceptualized nature. Number two is the other dependent nature. Everything is from karmic seeds ripened into retribution. Our entire life is like that. It's dependent on the conditions of the karmic seed. So you can say life is all about karma. There is no mistake. How lucky you are, how prosperous you are, how healthy you are, it's because of our good deeds and bad deeds from the past. So that's the other dependent nature. So all things that manifest from our alaya consciousness, from the seeds, you cannot say they don't exist, but they exist only because of karma. In reality, all these ups and downs, all these phenomena, they are illusory. They're like things happening in the dream. This dream is based on the alaya consciousness. Then the third nature, we call it the fully accomplished nature. It's away from fully conceptualized nature, which is your true suchness. We have the Buddha nature, just like all enlightened Buddha. At this moment, how come we're not Buddha? Because we are always using the conceptual mind, the perception with our senses, and not going inward to the fully accomplished nature. We're always stuck with the outside environment. We think everything outside is real existence. Little do we know, they're only at the dependent nature, ripening into manifestation. In the sutra, it gives a metaphor. It's like a person who has the illness of the eyes. They see floaters. So the person with the illness of the eyes is the person, the fully conceptualized nature, who is always seeing the world through the selfish lens, through the manas, through seeing division and form division. We are never objective. It's always tainted by our own fallacy. And when you see all the flowing objects, just like the floater, you see lines, the things that are flowing in the air, that's called the other dependent nature. So in this life, you cannot say they don't exist. We still have a life, we have a body, we have all this country, all these people, but they are only real because you live in the stream of reincarnation. So this is the other dependent nature based on karma. What if we heal our eyes? We don't see the floaters. Then we are a person that have healthy eyes, fully accomplished nature. A saint, a Buddha, they have enlightened eyes, so they do not see floaters. It's really the empty space. That is the reality. So empty of the self, empty of all phenomena. That is the ultimate truth. Buddha explains further. He does not want us to attach to the three natures because these three natures are still concepts. Buddha then talks about three naturelessness. So three natures, three naturelessness. First, the fully conceptualized nature is now naturelessness of characteristics. Our thoughts actually has no characteristics. It's actually empty in nature. The other dependent nature, the existence of the world, they have some kind of existence. But our wandering thoughts, how our seeing division, see the form division, is totally an illusion. It doesn't exist. Therefore, it doesn't have any form. Our perception is only a construct of the mind. The other dependent nature is now the naturelessness of self-existence. There's condition arising, there's karma, but even this karma and this condition arising, they have no real existence of themselves. Nothing really exists, nothing really dies. This body, you cannot say it's really existent or it's dying because it's only body this lifetime and next lifetime it's gone. It never really rise or cease. So all the things that you see in front of you in this lifetime, they are only conditioned existence. It's illusory existence. Therefore, they have no real existence. Lastly, the fully accomplished nature, our true Buddha nature, you cannot say it exists as well. It's the absence of self-nature. You cannot say we have a self-nature or pure consciousness that is perfect and pure. If you're stuck about being enlightened, you are still not enlightened. So in the 30 verses, it says, as long as you place something in front of yourself and take it as an object, you are still not seeing the mere consciousness state because you're still in possession of something. Any perception of any phenomena, that is still an attachment. So let go of all your attachment to what you see. You will live a life that is carefree. I have 3 conclusions from this class. First, be stable in our mind. Don't be caught up in the 6 sense organs. What you see, 6 sense objects, it's not the truth. Or the life situation, you take it very seriously, that is still things happening in a dream. So be stable in your emotion, have less waves of the ocean. You will find tranquility in your mind. Number 2, we want to still use the other dependent nature. We still want to be kind in this lifetime. Bodhisattva, they live in this world without attachment to the self, not having opinion, judgment about anybody or anything, but they have 4 embracing virtues. First, they are always generous, always giving without wanting anything in return. 2, they always have affectionate speech, always look at the good qualities of others and do not criticize other people's shortcomings. Number 3, a bodhisattva live in this world of other dependent nature. They are always having contacts that benefit others. Number 4 is we have teamwork. Bodhisattva is always in harmony with everybody and cooperate with people. So live in this world, but not of this world. Lastly, we want to be free. Liberation, blissfulness of the mind, back to re-witnessing division. Just living this life at the present moment without a strong self, without a strong ego. Be free and liberated from the ego, from attachment to the self, from attachment to all phenomena. Isn't that a better way to live? Once you really understand what is the state of mere consciousness. That's the class today. Thank you so much for listening. Amitabha.